So, have you ordered your caladiums yet? If not, let me just brief you about my favorite foliage plants ever. But just be aware you cannot have just one. You'll want them all. They're so pretty, and that's with a capital P. So stick around and learn about our caladiums at Lively Root. Hi, I'm Debbie with Lively Root. You may have nostalgic memories of certain bulbs growing in your grandparents' or parents' garden beds and pots. There's so many varieties, colors, shapes, and sizes. At Lively Root, we offer old favorites and recommendations for more unusual and exotic bulbs too. I want to take the mystery out of planting them if you've never done this before and give you some ideas on where to use these caladiums in your garden space. These are some of my favorite bulbs. I remember my mom planting these in her patio planters, and now Dad follows the tradition and plants them every spring. I've used these in my garden beds and in container plantings too. Caladiums are tender bulbs that produce colorful tropical foliage in pinks, fuchsias, reds, and whites with variegated patterns throughout the spring and the summer months. And if you're like me, it's hard to pick just one color. There's so many gorgeous ones. And if you watch to the end, you can find out how to get a head start to the caladium sprouting faster for your garden. Lively Root offers two pink varieties, Princess Pink Beauty and the tried and true Carolina Wharton. Both take part shade, which is 4 to 6 hours of morning sun, and put them in shady spots in your garden. Lively Root's white variations include luminescent white moonlight, and this is a great one for the moonlight garden. That's where something in the garden has white blooms or white variegated leaves. This one also needs part shade to shady spots. Then we have Candyland, which has the pink speckles and the green margins, and rare white ombre Mount Everest. The red vein at the top and the pink splashes throughout this one pops next to the green edges. I just love it. And if you have a sunny spot that gets 6 to 8 hours of sun in your garden, use these. These are sun tolerant, so you can plant them with your large alocasias and calicaceas as a lower growing plant to complement them in the container planting. Variations of red include Crimson Red Flash. This one takes part shade to shade, so put them in early morning sun and no afternoon shade. And they can handle 2 to 4 hours of sun a day. Then there's Scarlet Postman Joiner, and this one's part shade to shade, early morning sun, no afternoon. So it would be 2 to 4 hours. Then there's Green Border Red Ruffles. This one takes full sun, which is 6 to 8 hours, or shade 2 to 4 hours. All of these are spectacular and add so much color. Of all these three, remember, you can only plant red ruffles in full sun to shade. Then we have a chartreuse variety called Miss Muffet. The chartreuse against the pink red veining and flecks stand out pretty in a garden mix with some New Guinea impatiens. And bonus, they're sun tolerant too. You can plant them either in full sun to shade. Just remember to keep them well watered in full sun because they can dry out faster. So you can see why these are on the top of my must-have list. I have a mostly shady area on my screened-in porch, and behind I have perfect containers to highlight them in this spring. Last but not least, we have Celebration, and it does look like a fireworks display in red, white, and green edges. I have an idea. Add this one to your 4th of July or holiday celebrations throughout the summertime. Stick some flags in the pots with them and you'll have your decorations covered. You'll want to treat this plant as a tropical annual in zones 3 through 8, planting after the spring's last frost date. We have a blog on our website that discusses planting zones so you can figure out what zone you're in. This will determine when it's safe to plant your plants. Another way to determine the soil's temperature when it's time is to find that little gadget in your kitchen called a meat thermometer. Now don't tell Mom you're using it, especially not for this. If she catches you, just tell her you're making something gorgeous. I won't tell. Okay, so when you go outside, stick it in the ground and wait 5 minutes, and while you're out there, weed. Make yourself useful. You'll be glad you did later. If the soil registers 70 degrees, then the oven, The soil is ready to plant your bulbs. If you don't have a thermometer, no worries. Just wait until the outside daytime temperatures are consistently in the 70s for at least 2 to 3 weeks so the soil has time to warm up. If not, your caladiums are just going to sit there. Then you're going to overwater them and they're going to rot before they have a chance to burst forth out of the ground. Then take note of the hours of sun you get in the garden and what times of the day. To determine this, you accurately need to figure out where you want to plant your bulbs. Then you set a timer and watch every half hour in that spot, starting when the sun comes up to dusk, how many hours you're getting in that one spot. Now remember, full sun is 6 to 8 hours of parking lot baking sun. Part sun is 4 to 6 hours of sun, and that would be afternoon sun. Part shade is 4 to 6 hours of morning sun and afternoon shade, which is less hot. Shade is 2 to 4 hours of morning sun, and that's the cool of the day. And depending on the variety you choose will determine how much sun it will take. Only plant these in pots for indoors if you have a greenhouse or where the humidity is exceptionally high. These need lots of humidity, 90 to 100% sauna-like, to really thrive inside. They need a bright, indirect lighted spot. And remember, these go dormant in the fall and winter, so the leaves will eventually fade and dry up. After talking to the grower, he recommended purchasing new bulbs each year because each new year passes, the bulb loses vigor and doesn't perform as well with fewer leaves and smaller growth. So it's up to you. Some people try to save them, but I just consider them annuals and I toss them when the first frost kills them back. These caladiums grow 18 to 24 inches tall, and the bonus for me is I have the color without dedicating any spent flowers. They can produce a flower, but it's quite inconspicuous, and I just cut it out so it doesn't go to seed and deplete growth on the plant. Shade caladiums color up and brighten the garden with a burst of color where many flowering plants won't grow. Expect the #1 size bulb to get about 10 to 15 leaves and the jumbos about 15 to 30. You can stagger them in a checkerboard pattern in the garden if you want a showy display. For the #1s, plant them about 1 foot apart, and for the jumbos, plant 18 to 24 inches apart. When planting outside, mix in about 1/3 compost to the native soil for good drainage. As a rule of thumb, I want you to dig a hole 2 to 3 times deeper and wider than the bulb's length and width. So if your bulb is 2 inches high, then you're going to dig down 6 inches deep and wide. Take the native soil and mix in the compost. At this point, you can add in the balanced mix for bulbs and mix it all together like a batter. Just mix it all up. If you're planting a grouping, measure about 18 to 24 inches between each bulb to give them room to fill out and get air circulation. Put the bottom of the bulb or the flat end down into the soil. Position the eyes facing towards the sky and cover it with soil mixture. Then water well. Apply a 3-1-2 liquid fertilizer during the growing season to keep their foliage and tubers healthy. Keep them consistently moist but not soggy, and use our 3-in-1 soil meter to check before watering. Let's talk about the eyes or the buds on your bulbs. You've noticed that they look a little gnarly and have these tips. These are terminal buds on the bulbs, which is where the dominant shoots sprout. Some gardeners like to remove these by de-eyeing them. The reason to do this is to prevent apical dominance so they become bushier and more uniform in their leaf production. It's like getting more bang for your buck. You would normally perform surgery and remove about 1/8 to 1/4 of the protruding buds with a small knife and leave a little divot. The results would be a fuller plant, giving you a showier display in the garden or container. But no mask required or sharp instruments. We already have this handled for you, which is why these are premium bulbs. We take all the precarious work out of it for you so you can just take them, plant them, and watch them grow. Now, if you're planting them into a container, you'll do a little differently. I've put a screen in the bottom of the pot to hold in the soil from clogging up the holes so it drains well. I'm using a regular black gold well-draining potting mix and position the bulb inside your container. I'm using a quart container and planting 1 jumbo-sized bulb in it. In a container, I'm only planting it down 1 to 2 inches deep below the soil line of the container. Then you water it in thoroughly with tepid water until you see water coming out the drainage holes. And water with a shower in so you don't create divots in the soil in one place. To create humidity, you can add some plastic to the container to retain humidity and encourage sprouting faster. It will take approximately 2 to 3 weeks for the shoots to appear. Then remove the clear plastic. You can keep this in a warm place inside your house near a brightly lit window, southern exposure, or a combo. If you time this right, you can transplant these into the ground about the time it's ready to plant to give you about a 2 to 3 week head start. I wouldn't try to hold these any longer inside since they really need high humidity to thrive. Again, you'll want to apply the 3-1-2 fertilizer monthly during the growing season, which the first number is for nitrogen, which will help your leaf grow. I hope you're looking forward to spring and planting these gorgeous foliage plants. If you've never planted these before, this will be something you look forward to every year. Send us pictures of your caladiums on Instagram and Facebook with the hashtag LivelyRoot so we can see what your display looks like. If you have any questions about your plant, email us at support@livelyroot.com or ask in the comments below. Until the next time, have a lively day.